Yep. Okay, so as I was telling that, yes, my recording is being started. So I was talking about the security part, which is the most crucial part inside your application. If you're creating any application and it is using the data of a client, and if you'll not secure it, that will be a big help for you guys in future purpose, because data is the most important part right now. So the second part will be the integration part, where you can be able to access the APIs and you can be able to use the data from those APIs. So this is the whole and soul for today's topic. Yeah, that's it from my side. So I think, as I told you, that you have to give your introduction, where you have to tell three things. First thing is your name, your technology in which you are working on, and third thing, whether you have worked with the APIs or not. If you have worked the APIs, you can tell me the name of those APIs as well, or a few bits and pieces about it. Okay, that's the only thing which I need. So I think, let's start with the alphabetical order, or if anybody wants to start, that is perfectly fine.
Okay,
I
so
think,
let me start.
yeah,
Uh,
please go ahead.
so I'm Aditya. Deepak, you already know me. We have worked together on Shera project,
Yeah, correct.
and I am from the marketing team. I'm here to know all the nuances involved in the API integration projects and what all the stages are involved in API projects, how we do the authentication stuff. I'm curious to know about all these things.
Okay, that's good thing. Thank you, Aditya. Who's next?
Hello, sir. I'm Abhay Kumar Yadav, and I'm
Okay.
a software developer, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on Laravel technology.
Okay.
And basically, I'm learning API to how to integrate. So I'm joining your session, and that's all from my side, sir. Thank you for this session, sir. Hello. Okay.
Yep. Thank you so much, Abhay. Who's next?
Hello, sir.
Next.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello,
go
sir.
ahead, guys.
I'm Rohit Negi, and I'm working on the NBI team, and I learned this API. Actually, my main job is to extract the data from web to Power BI, so that's why I'm joining this session.
Okay. Thank you, Rohit. Who's else? Who's next?
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Yep.
My name is Vishal Singh, and I'm
Vishal, there is a lot of background noise from your side. I cannot hear you. Yeah, I cannot hear you properly, actually. Okay, in the meantime, yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Yeah.
yes, sir. My name is Vishal Singh Yadav, and
Mm-hmm.
I am junior quality engineer in Scala Valley. And right now, sir, I don't have any idea about API
Okay.
as I joined as a fresher, and it's a great opportunity
That's
for me to learn
that's
API and
that's
API.
perfectly fine. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Please.
thank
Yeah. Thank you, Vishal. Next, please.
Good, good evening, sir. My name is Satyam Agarwal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Currently, I am working on PHP, Laravel framework,
Mm-hmm.
and till now I have a little knowledge of APIs. Uh, that's all, sir.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jaswinder. Thank you. Was
Sir,
Jaswinder
Satyam.
calling? Satyam. Thank you
Satyam.
so much, Satyam. Sorry.
Okay, sir.
There are a lot of people over here, so
Yeah, yeah, no
I'm quite
issues, sir.
confused. Okay.
No
Thank
issues.
you so much, Satyam. Oh, who's next, please?
Hello, hi Deepak.
Hey, hi. Come on. Yep. Go on.
Hello sir. I'm Kamal,
Uh-huh.
and actually I recently joined Scale Apply before 1 month, and previously I working with in a core development using core PHP like HTML, CSS, and backend PHP or JavaScript, वगैरह. And
Mhm.
I have as a beginner level experience about API. That's it.
Okay. Thank you
Okay,
so much, Kamal.
thank you.
Next. Next, please.
Hello. Hi,
Hello, sir.
Deepak.
Yep. Jaswinder.
Hello. Hi, Deepak. My name is
Yeah, hi.
Jaswinder.
Yep.
So I am working on BI division
Mhm.
last 3 years on Scale Valley. So, but I have no knowledge for of API integration.
Okay.
So I
Oh,
am not working on API project.
okay.
So okay.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. Thank you so much. Next, please.
Hello, sir.
Yep. Hi.
My name is Ashutosh Bhatti.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a junior software engineer in Scale Up LI, and I'm working on Flutter. And sir, I have used Firebase, where I have managed the user data. And recently, I want to learn more on API.
You must have used API a lot inside your project, because as far as I know, Flutter is the mobile application development, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Who's next, please?
Hello, Deepak.
Yep. Hi, Kapil. Kapil, right?
Yeah, I
Yep.
have joined Skilla Palai back since it has been 2 months while working with Skilla Palai, and I have worked as a junior BI developer. Yeah. And my basic motive of learning API is for using the techniques of NLP and machine learning. So you might
Oh.
be aware of NLP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm like quite interested in NLP and machine learning techniques, and I have already been learning that thing for past 1 year.
Oh,
The thing
that's
which I lack is an API, and
that's a
so,
that's a good thing.
so
Okay.
that is why I want to learn more of.
Thank you so much, Kapil. Please. Who's next?
Hi, Deepak. I'm Kirti. I'm from quality analyst team, and I didn't work on APIs. The reason to join this session is I want to learn API concept in better way.
Okay. Thank you, Kirti. Next, please. Everybody done, or there is left?
Hey Deepak, this is Jaspal.
Hey, hi Jaspal. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm a senior BI developer in Scala Palai from last 3 years. I have just used APIs to pull up the data. Just and I like and from Python also.
Okay.
So I'm just this all I know about the APIs. Just I'm very curious to know about all the APIs and how it works and how's the main system behind all of them.
Sure. Okay, that's it. Who's next, please? Let's wrap it up fast. Who's remaining now?
Yeah.
Prashant.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Deepak.
Yeah, please go ahead.
My name is Prashant, and I am in Cloud Tech division. I'm a junior software engineer in Cloud Tech division, and currently I am using Laravel framework in PHP, and I'm just started using open APIs for a other project, and I want to learn more about it and know about the JWT token and something else for login and logout purposes.
Okay, thank you so much, Prashant.
Thank you.
Who's next? Next, please. I think everybody done? Or is there somebody remaining?
I think we have reached everyone.
Oh, I think boss is remaining. Tarsim, you can also talk about yourself, right?
Okay, so I am Tasim leading the BI team. I am one of the founder of Scale Up Ally.
Okay.
And I wanted you to teach my team how we can integrate the API. क्या part है API के क्या part नहीं है. What is the pros, cons, क्या है. So I wanted you to help on that. So इसीलिए हम लोग ये सेशन जो है मतलब सबको हम लोगों ने एक जगह एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे लेके आया हूँ.
Okay, thank you so much, Tarsim. I'm really glad you took me in and you felt that I can be able to teach you guys something. But let me just tell you at the first that I'm not a teacher over here, and I'm not anybody else who's having a lot of knowledge inside this particular thing. I'm also learning and you are also learning. Okay, so that's the first part from my side. I'll just teach you what I have learned in my tenure. Probably there will be some things which you can be also tell me that, okay, if you have seen some things, you can also tell me that, okay, whether you have seen that particular thing or not. So it could be the possibilities that I can also learn from you guys. So it's a give and take thing. Okay. So I'll try to make this particular session as interactive as possible, but due to some time constraints, I did not have that opportunity to prepare some kind of test cases or something like that. I'll just give you the practical example at the last. But before that, let's go with the theory, which is the boring part. So let's finish that particular part first, and then we'll go ahead from there. Okay. Uh, in between, I will come and back in. I'll just talk in Hindi and English both, whatever I feel comfortable. Okay. So I think let me just share my screen back. I have shared the wrong screen. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
sir.
Yep.
Affirmative, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So let me just give you the brief about myself as I have given you before also. So this is the session about the API. So just introduction to APIs. My background is my name is Deepak Singh Mehta. You can reach me out from Twitter. You can reach me from GitHub. You can reach me from my LinkedIn account. So all the information I have given over here. If you have any kind of questions after this, or anytime if you have any kind of things, you can just call me back, either of it. Or if you want to connect me via my email also, so I'll provide you at the last of it. GitHub, I have created a lot of repositories over there using the examples. After this, I will just show it to you at a glance of it so that you can be able to take a note of it, or you can say as an example, you can use it. Okay. So basically, as we have discussed, this is the introduction about the API. So let me just tell you the basic definition of the API is application. The full form of the API is application programming interface. It's nothing. It's just like how you want to access the data. As I told you, in current scenario or in current century where we are living right now, the data is the most important part. Everybody wants to store the data from everybody else. Like we have a lot of things from where we can be able to collect the data, your personal information, your way of behaving, your way of eating, your way of traveling, everything. Everybody wants to store it so that they can be able to use that particular thing in future for your better purpose. Like if you are traveling from somewhere to somewhere, so how you are traveling, so to make it easy to give you discount prices, to show you that what are the modes of travel to over there. So all these information comes from yourself only. When you give the information to anybody that you are traveling from here to here, then they after that only they can be able to give you the proper estimation about the travel, how you want to travel. So that is the reason why everybody wants to integrate. We have a lot of applications right now. The basic applications you can see, Google is there, Facebook is there, Twitter is there. You have a lot of internal applications also. You have financial applications. All these applications, they have their own data. Now everybody wants to integrate with each other. Like if I'm logging in some application, I want to access Facebook's data, I want to access Google's data, I want to access LinkedIn data. As an example, if I can tell you that, like right now I'm using LinkedIn. I am going to some application where I can be able to fill the form for my job application. I should not tell you like this, but let me just tell you that if you go to Naukri.com, or if you go to any other job portal, they have given you the option that you can be able to associate with your LinkedIn profile. Whatever information you have given inside LinkedIn, that whole information will be transferred back to your Naukri.com or your any other portal. You need not to write the same thing again and again. So it means you are transferring data from your LinkedIn to your job portal. So ultimately behind the scenes, we are not giving the information. LinkedIn is giving the information, and my job portal is connecting to LinkedIn. via API. So API is nothing, it's just a mode of transport between application to application, company to company, whatever, however you want to use it. Okay, so that is the main basic criteria of APIs. My next slide is talking about the definition of API. So basically, this is the bookish information, or you can say bookish definition of API, which I have taken from the Wikipedia. If you will open this particular source, you can be able to see the same thing over there. So I can read it out. Application programming interface is a connection between computers or between computer programs. It is a type of a software interface offering a service to other pieces of software. Just like I told you that whether two applications are there, they want to connect with themselves using transferring the data between each other without knowing or without having any kind of interaction with users. Okay, so for that particular purpose, the API is being created. My next slide is just giving the scenario, how it used to work in past and how it works in present. So this is the past one. Can you can see my mouse moving, right? Anybody can give me the heads up for that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So this is my past and this is my present. Present, it means how my present application architecture works and how it is going to be inside future. So previously what used to happen is whenever anybody comes to you, used to come to you, and then they used to say that we had to create an application. So what you would do is you will just take the requirements and you will just create the application for them, where you will have your business logic, your application logic, and your user interface clubbed with each other. Now, I'm not talking about the architecture itself over here, because if you can say that my application itself has 3-layer architecture where I'm just using my business logic different, my application logic different, my user interface different. It doesn't mean I'm not talking about the application architecture right now. I'm talking about the software architecture. Okay, just give me a second. I'm just talking about the application architecture. I'm not talking about the application inside application architecture. I'm talking about how your software works. When you create the software or when you create the application, everything comes inside. Now, let's say I have created one web application. Okay, I'm just giving you the example over here. I have created one web application which has a simple information, which has a simple interface where I'm giving the information or saving some information, and it is saving into the database. Now I want to do the same thing using my desktop application. So what I have to do is I have to create the same business logic, same application logic, and the user interface will be different, because in web application, I will use HTML and CSS. In software application, I will use normal whatever desktop application, whatever I want to use. I want to use Windows Forms, or I want to use SAML or Xamarin, anything I can be able to use it. Okay. So ultimately, I'm doing work twice. I'm writing my business logic, my application logic inside web application, as well as I'm doing the same thing inside my window application also. Okay, which is not right. So the first thing inside the software development, anybody whomsoever will give you the architecture example, they will say, do not repeat yourself. Dry. The simple short form of it is dry. Every time whenever you are writing an application, you have to focus on that thing that, okay, do not repeat yourself. If you have written one particular code, if you can be able to reuse that one, you should reuse it. You should not write the same code again and again, because in future, if anything comes up in between and you have to change the same thing, you have to change all those multiple places wherever you have written the same code. For an example, right now you are taking my name from one place and then you are changing it, or you are massaging the data and then you are sending back. Now the massaging part you have written 3 times. I want to change something at one place, you have to change the same place. I mean, if in future anybody comes to you and then say you have to change that logic, you have to change the same logic to all 3 places, which is a very difficult process for maintaining their application. So that is the reason everybody says do not repeat yourself. Okay, so how we have come up with this, the solution for it is, if we have 2 different whole applications, one is web application, one is window application, and one is some different application, mobile application, let's say. Now I want to give the same business logic, same application logic to all these 3. Now I do not want to write the same business logic, application logic with all three applications. So what I have done is I have created a third, or you can say the fourth application, which will take care only for my business logic and my application logic. It will not work with anything else. Okay. So that is the same thing which I have defined inside this current scenario, where my mobile application is there, they have their user interface. My web application is there, they have their own user interface. Now I have two different scenarios where I have created my application logic different, my business logic different. Why I'm saying business logic different and application logic different, let me just explain that as well. Because business logic, it means your core business logic. When you work with any product companies, right? Like you are working with Twitter, you are working with Facebook. So they are product based companies. It means they have their own product and they are working with that. So when they have created that particular application, they had some kind of business rules for that. So whatever business rules which is common for all the parties, all the products, you can make it that thing inside business logic. When you talk about the application logic, so inside the application logic, you will put your specific logic or specific things which is related to that application. Let's say, for an example, there is one mobile application and a web application. My mobile application is saving my name, my state, and my country. The only three things. But when I comes to web application, I'm taking more than those three scenarios. I'm taking your name, your state, your country, and something else. Your job description also I'm taking it. So that is called application logic. So that is the reason why I have created two different things. Okay. So these are two different entities which you can be able to connect inside your mobile application and web application. Now you do not have to write the same application business logic inside this applications. These are two different entities which can be able to connect with your applications anytime possible. In future, if anything comes up, like let's say for an example, right now we have mobile applications. Maybe after that you want to create the application for your tablet or something else, some window application. I have not created window application over here. I want to create window application. So I need not to create the same application logic, business logic over there. I will just create my user interface and I will access the data or whatever things from here. So this is the simple scenario which we use right now. Okay. So far, any questions? You can just ping me inside the chat window. You can just put your questions, if anything, or you can just open your mic and tell me whatever questions you have. If not, let's just go ahead. Okay. This is one of the examples which I can be able to give you right now is a like option. Everybody use Facebook right now, right? So before 2010, they were using like this. They were having only one like button, which was built in inside your application, Facebook application. After 2020, what they have done is they have created an API for like. So now your like button can be anywhere else. Now you are opening your Facebook or you are opening some third party. There also they say like in Facebook. They have their own page, so they say like in Facebook. So whenever you do like, the like goes to their Facebook page. So you need not to open your Facebook. You have to just click from there. So that is the power of the API, which has been taken or which is being used by Facebook for so long time. Okay. So this is one of the examples which I can be able to give you right now. Okay, any questions till now? Okay, I'll take it as a no. Let's move ahead. Okay, so as I told you that API is just a data transferring tool from one application to another application or between the applications, between softwares, between companies, anything, whatever you say. It's basically a mode of communication between two things. That can be anything. It can be application, it can be companies, company to company or application to application. Okay. So API whenever now there is one more thing which I would like to mention over here is we have a lot of technologies right now. So do not think about only PHP, only BI or only .NET, only Java. So you cannot be able to work on this. It doesn't matter. The main problem at the time when they create APIs, right? So main problem was to share the data between applications because my application is in .NET and some other application is built in Java. let's say my application, window application, I have created using my window forms or XML. Now, the web application which anybody else has been created for my company, they have used Java. So how can I be able to use the same data? Because .NET and Java, they cannot talk to each other. Those are two different languages. So at first, there was one language called XML. Okay, extension markup language, which has been created, or which is the universal language which has been recognized by all the entities in the application world or in the software world. You can say that www is there, right? W3P. So they have recognized that one, that anybody can be able to access that XML. XML, if you have written some code inside your application and you are sending the code after taking the data and you are sending the code to the XML, that XML can be read by anybody. Either you are writing your application inside .NET or inside Java, it doesn't matter. As far as that is XML, you can be able to read that particular data because XML is recognized by all the languages. Okay, so that was the initial point when recently they have created, or that was at the time API was new, they were using XML at that point. Now, after that, when XML was, because it's a XML is the extension markup language. Everybody must have, I mean, everybody must have used HTML in their career somehow, right? If you have not used it, probably you can just check the how it works. Okay, so when you say HTML, right? So HTML is also a markup language. So you can see that there is one home, there is the closing of the home, everything is there, right? Everything, you can see that there is home, HTML tag is there, so that HTML will have the same closing tag. You have the head tag over there, you have the head closing tag. So that is called markup language, right? So XML is also kind of a same language, but it is the user defined language, right? HTML, you have predefined tags over there. HTML is the tag, head is the tag, title is the tag, body is the tag. So all these tags are predefined, but for XML, you do not have any kind of predefined tags. If my application says I will have API as a tag, so I can create API as a tag. Anybody else whomsoever is accessing that particular information from my team, they will use that API tag. Okay, so that is the flexibility which XML has given, but that is quite complicated. So as soon as we have increased, or we have developed some more idea about the APIs, we shifted, or you can say we have shifted from our XML to JSON. So JSON is nothing, it's JavaScript object notification. Okay, so JSON is also a kind of a language only. It's nothing else. It's not any gibberish language. It's a JSON language, which is being understand, which can be able to understand everything, or every particular application can be able to understand that one. So basically, it's let me just give you the example. Right now, I'm speaking English, and somebody else who's coming from Russia, let's say they do not know English, so they cannot be able to communicate, right? I cannot be able to communicate with that Russian guy because he cannot understand English and I cannot understand Russian. So the communication cannot be happen. So for the communication purpose, you should have one single language which can be understood by both parties. Okay, if Russian understands English and I can also understand English, my mother tongue is Hindi, but I can be able to speak English and I can understand as well. If Russian does the same thing, Russian also can speak or understand the English, then we can be able to communicate, right? So that is the same scenario which we follow over here also, because software also works like that. If two softwares are there, two applications are there, they can communicate in a single language which can be understood by both the parties or both the applications. So JSON and XML are these two kind of languages which can be understandable by all the applications, by all the technologies in the world. Anybody, there is, if anything comes up now, like any other technology is coming or any other language is coming, any language can be able to understand XML and JSON, because that is the language which the software world has created to understand each other. Okay, and for communication it is very important. Okay, now As we have discussed about the API a lot in this one. So application API is just a mode of transferring data from one application to another. Now, how we discuss or what kind of APIs we can be able to create. So this is the thing which I have seen over here. I have shown you over here is there are some private APIs, there are some partner APIs, and there are some public APIs. These are the three types of APIs mostly inside right now inside in the world, which you can be able to use. Okay. What you mean by private APIs? Private APIs are used internally. Internally, it means like I told you, I'm working with Petronas right now. So Petronas have their own internal data. They have a lot of refineries over here. They have a lot of ships where they go offer the oiling. Okay, when they dig the oil, so they have their own refineries over there. They have their own batches or they have their own ships. So all these information they store at one place. Now that particular information is used by multiple applications which we create, but that is specifically for Petronas. So Petronas create all private APIs that will be not open for all the worlds. Okay. If you want to use it, you have to be the part of Petronas and then you can be able to use it. Now there is called partner APIs. So partner APIs, it means business to business. Business to business, it means have you guys used Google Gmail, right? Everybody use Gmail, correct? So when you talk about Gmail, if I open www.gmail.com, I can be able to give my Gmail ID, dvsingh0 or donny anything, abc@gmail.com, and I give my password and I can be able to see inside my Gmail. But Google provides this kind of email architecture to the application, to the teams or to companies also. Let's say I'm establishing a company right now, and my company's name is something something. Okay, let's say my company's name is something. So what I can do is I can leverage Google's Gmail exchange, or you can say that email architecture which they have created. So what I can do is whenever I will say www.gmail.com, or they will give me the specific, URL for that. Whenever I'll put that particular URL, I will give my company's ID, something@something.com or abc@something.com, and then I will give my password, and then I can be able to use the same thing. Your look and feel will be same. Only the thing is that will be only accessible to your team or whomsoever will have that email ID. Okay, so that is called partner. Basically, we call it B2B also. You must have heard about this particular term, B2B, business to business. So it means my business and Google's business, we are we are talking to each other. Okay, so that is called B2B. Now the third type of is public. Public, it means open to everybody. Open to everybody, it means like Twitter. So right now, Twitter is open to everybody. You want to have any tweets, you want to have how many tweets are there, how many likes are there, you just go register in public or register in Twitter's API. You can be able to access the API data and you can be able to use it. Facebook's API, some of the APIs are very open of that, just like I told you about the like. If you want to put the thumb button inside your application, you can be able to put that one because they have opened the API for that. Okay. Google's Analytics. Google Analytics API is also open. You can just register there. You can have the Google Analytics API inside your application. Like this, a lot of APIs are there, which is being open for everybody. Okay. So that is the API which you can be able to use it anytime. Okay. Any questions till now? Okay. Hopefully we can be able to finish it very early. Okay, so let's talk about the open APIs. Open API is nothing. If you hear this particular this particular term anywhere, open API. Open API, it does not mean it's free of cost. It does not mean it's free of cost. It means it is openly documented, which you can see it is written over here, and you can self sign up for that. It means you need not any kind of user interaction for that. Let's say for an example, I have created one API, but and if anybody wants to use it, somebody else has to come to me, and then I will register them, and then they can be able to use it. So that is not an open API. It means that is the private API, or that is the other API, the partner API. Okay, it can be anything. But if any API is there and you can be able to use it, like all public APIs can be open APIs, like I told you, Facebook, right? So for that particular purpose, you have to register first. api.facebook.com is the link. You can go over there and you can register. Google's API is there. Twitter's API is there. So all these APIs are there. You have to register first, and then you can be able to use it. And they are openly documented. If you have any kind of issues, you can just search Google. They have their own forums. They have their own communities. You can just post your problem over there. They will give you the option for that, or they can give you the answers for that if they will have it, or they can guide you to the proper way. Okay, so this is the one. Now, this is the theory about the APIs. Till now, any questions from you guys? Any question, anything apart from APIs? Anybody? You can be able to ask. If I'll have the answer, I will let you know. If I'll not have the answer, I'll try to give it to you, or I will try to guide you to the right direction for that. If not, let's go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello, sir Kamalida.
Okay,
Actually, I just want to know authentication that we used in API.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we will use the authentication. The authentication part, I have not come up to the authentication because there are a few other things which I would like to explain before how it
Sure, sir.
works. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sure. I told you, right? API is nothing. It's just the way of transferring the data from one place to another place. Okay. Now, if I say, if I give you the live example of it or the real-time example of it, so what I can say is, let's say I have a warehouse in Noida. Okay. I want to ship the data from Noida to some other place. So to Delhi, let's say for an example. Okay. I'm just taking the nearest one. You can take anything. Okay. Now, how I will transfer? Okay. There is a mode of transportation, right? I can just take my product from my warehouse, which is in Noida, and I will put it inside truck or anything. I'll just go by road. Could be the possibilities. I do not want to go by road. I want to fly. So what I will do is I will take the same data. I will put in my chopper or plane or anything. I will just fly it out and then put it to my second location. Or I can just take the data or take the product, I will put inside the train, and then I can ship it to the second location. So these three are the modes of transportation, correct? Everybody has their own scenarios or how they do it. When you push the product to the truck, they will have their own way of handling that particular product, right? How they are binding it out. It should not go, it should not fall down from the truck. It should have the security, it should have everything. So they will just check it out. When you do the same thing to the plane or to the chopper will see in their way how they want to secure it. It should not fail. There will be a different way they will use it to do the same thing, right? And when I will do the same thing, when I will pass the product from my position A, from my warehouse A to warehouse B via train, so train will have different type of technology to secure my product, to manage my product, correct? So all these three scenarios or all these three modes of transportation have different kind of securing the data, different kind of ways to secure the same thing. They are securing my product. My truck is also doing the same thing. Chopper is also doing the same thing. Train is also doing the same thing, but they are doing in different way. Okay, because they are
Okay, sir.
Yep. Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you. But another question. Actually, API just work for transferring data.
Yes, correct.
Like between client and server. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
between some few applications. So here just I want to know if client request to data for huge amount. So what kind of problems we can face? Yeah, how our API will fail? What kind of way?
Correct. Sure. I'll just give you the answer of it. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me just
Okay, sir.
explain this thing. Let me just finish it up, and then we will come to that particular part. Okay. So as I
Okay,
have
sir.
told you that, yeah, as I have told you that from my warehouse A to B, I need to transfer the data. I can transfer the data from A to B and B to A also. Correct. So modes of transportation is different. Just like that, inside my application also, when I transfer the data via API or using API, there are different modes of it. So to show the modes, I'll just show you the live example of it. This. So you can see, you can treat these are as a
Yes,
mode.
yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, these are as a mode. Basically, we have only 5 modes. You can say get, post, put, delete. Get, post, put, and delete. So these are the 4 things which we always use. We do not use anything else. You can have all these things: link, purge, lock, unlock, if your application allows. Okay. But right now, these are the methods how you want to transfer the data from API to your application. Just like I told you the live example from warehouse A to B, what is the method I'm using? I'm using by road, by fly, or by train. It depends on me. Okay, so that is the method. So like that, this is also called method because you are transferring the data from your API to your application. Okay. So everybody has their own way of transferring the data or getting the data or whatever you want to say. So basically the first one is get. When you talk about the get means you are asking the data. Now I will just move it over. Let me just open my pane. Okay, everybody can see this, right? My
Yeah.
paint.
Yes.
Let's see for an example. Let me just tell you. Okay, let's see. This is my client. Okay, and I'll just go over here. I'll just put it something like this, and this is my API. Okay, so this is my API, this is my client. Now I told you that API is to transfer the data. It means you are transferring data from here to here, or you can just give the data from client to API also. It can be back and forth. Okay, right now I want to access the data. I want to get the data. Means there is some data my API has. I want to display it over here. Let's say for an example, my API has the information about all the employees inside my company. Inside Scale-up Alley, all those employees whomsoever is working on, I want to display the thing over here. So it means my API has the data. Now I want the same data to the client. So it means I will just make a request to my API and I will say, give me Scale-up Ally employee information. So this request which I'm going over here, there will be a method and that method should be get. So get is always being used for getting the information. It means whenever your application wants the data from some API, you will always use get method. Okay. Now, there could be the possibilities that I have one form over here inside my client where I will give the information. There is new employee joins Scale-up Alley and I want to store the information inside my backend. I have my backend over here. Let's say in this particular database, I am storing all the information. In this particular database, I want to store all the information. So when I say my clients, when my client application, or you can say the application asks for the information from API, the API went to database, get the data, and then send to my application. Now, the second scenario is new employee joins Scale-up Alley. Okay. Now, my application has a form where I fill in all the information about the employee that, okay, how much experience does he have or she have, and what kind of experience does he or she have, Everything I have given it. Now, I want to store the same information inside my database, but I do not want to access my database directly from here to here. I do not want to do that. I want to go via API because this is my mediator. This API is my mediation point. I do not want to break that thing. I do not want to expose my database directly to my client. It should not happen because of security. As I told you, the security is the most important concern right now. So whenever I will send the information, it means I'm sending the information from here to here. Let me just take this. I'm sending the information from here to here. Whenever I'm sending the information from my client to API, that time I will use post method. Okay, this is the most important thing. Every application, every API works on these methods only. There will be no other method. You have to figure it out whether you are sending the information or getting the information. Every time whenever you get the information, you will say get. Whenever you send the information to save the information, you will use post. Now, the third scenario where I will use put. So put, it means to update the information. Now we have get the information. We have already got the information. We have saved the information. Now I want to update it. Let's say for an example, me joined Scalapally as a software developer. Okay. Now they have demoted me to junior software. My work was not so good. So they have just demoted me from my software developer to junior software developer. They want to change my position. So how they can change it? They will just do the same thing. They will just call the API from here to here. Now they will not use it post because post is for the new information, but I do not want to enter or save the new information. I want to update the information about myself because I have demoted. So my position has been changed. So for that particular purpose, I will use put. Okay. Now, the fourth option is delete. Okay, the fourth option is delete. So if anything comes up, let's say my work was not so good and they have given me the extra time also, I was not working well. So they have just, you can say, they fired me. So now they want to delete my information from my database. So they will just do the same thing. They will send one request from here to here from my API, but the method will be delete. Whenever you say delete the information, my API will understand what method is that. It's a delete method. So it will just take the information. You will give some of the information along with that particular method that, okay, my employee ID was 009. So you will say delete this 009. So you have sent it. You have sent the method. You have sent my employee ID. My API will check. It's a delete method. Oh, I have to delete it. So they will just go in the database and they will delete my record. So I will not be the employee of Scalapally after that. Okay, understood? Any questions till now?
Yes, sir.
No.
Hey Deepak,
Hey, yeah.
add this. According to this structure, that means when we request get APIs, there will be any SQL type queries sent over.
Okay, that's a good question. No, there will never be any SQL type queries. Okay, how you send the information is it's just a normal application calling. Okay, you are sending the information over here. It depends on the API how they have created. Right now, I'm using this login.microsoftonline.com and I'm just using this particular endpoint. We call it endpoint. Okay, whatever URL you have it, it's called endpoint. I have a lot of applications here. Let's say this is the application called DR. We have one simple API over here. This is inventory.drsystems.com/external API/v2/sale list. So this is nothing. Okay. This is the endpoint. Now, when you talk about this question mark, right? Anybody, I mean, there are a lot of guys inside the meeting who is working with the PHP. So they know that what is this question mark. This question mark, we call it the parameter, or you can say query string. Okay. Whenever you want to give extra information inside your endpoint or inside your URL, you put it something like this. Okay. Whenever you have put after question mark or whenever the question mark comes in your URL, You can say whatever after is the extra information which you are giving to the API or to the application to figure it out. Now I have given you, okay, how you can understand is, let's say for an example, I have given us over here. I said combined invoice status equals to invoice and update since this. So this is the filter which I'm putting it over here. It means my sale list can have multiple information, but I do not want to have anything. I want to have the combined invoice status equals to invoice. Whatever sale list has this combined invoice status and which sale list is updated since. It means updated after 1/5/2021. It's not 5/1, it's 1/5. Okay, 1/5 it means 1st of May. After 1st of May, whomsoever has been updated, whichever sale list is updated, you just give it to me, and there is a page limit I have given to you. So this is the question which Kamal has asked me, if I'm not wrong, that what kind of problems we can face when we are getting the information from the APIs. Now, there are a lot of public APIs which are open, so they do these kind of things. Okay, they have a simple scenarios over there, like this is called pagination. I can have thousands of records inside my API, okay, or in my database. I cannot give you, you just say like this. Now you're saying combined invoice status should be invoice and it should be updated after 1st of May. So could be the possibilities there are 20,000 records. I cannot send you 20,000 records over here because there is a limit. When you transfer the data comes in a limit. Okay, there is a limit of the data, and if the data is big, your communication will be slow. It means big data, big problem. Small data, small problem. So big data, if you'll have a lot of information inside that, the request will be so heavy that it will take some time to load. But if you have small data, then it will be fast and it will load fast. So you can put your pagination over here. Pagination, it means I'm giving you from page limit 1 to 100,000. It means there will be 1,000 records at a time. If I have 20,000 records, it will come 1,000 records at one time. Next time, if I want to put it, I will just remove that one. I will just say page number 2. So every page will have 1,000 records. My limit says I have 1,000 records and my page says I have second page. So I will get next 1,000 records. So like this, my application will go for 20 times, correct? If I have 20,000 records, 1,000 records each time, so 20 records. 20 times I have to call the same structure with different page number, and then I will have 20,000 records in my client or in my application. In single time, I cannot have it. So this is the first problem which you can be able to face it. Now, some of you might ask that how will I come to know whether there is a pagination or not, or how it can be possible that this is the scenario they are using. I have given you the example of Deer. If I open anything else, like I am just using the Lightspeed over here, there is one more thing. So they do not use this. They use offset over here. And hopefully I have used. Hopefully I have used somewhere the offset. No. Okay. So just want to give you the information. They say offset. They have not limit anything. They do not have page. They do not have limit. This is the variable. Okay. They use offset every time. Okay. I'll say 200. So they give me information 100 records at a time. When I say offset 200, so it will give me from 101 to 199 or to 200. From 101 record to 200 record, it will give it to me, show it to me. So how will you come to know whether you have to use offset or whether you should use pagination like page and limit? You have to go to the documentation. That is the reason why it is mentioned over here is openly documented. Whenever you are creating the API, your API should be documented first. If your API is not documented, it means people cannot be able to use it. Then they will never gonna use it, and then your API will never, I mean, it will never be so popular for that one. So if you want to have the API which can be helpful for others, then you should make it documented. everything should be documented over there. So when I was developing the application for Lightspeed, or when I was developing for the Deer, I went to the documentation. Then I came to know that okay, what kind of pagination they are using, what kind of endpoints they have, what kind of authentication they are using. Everything I came to know about that only. Okay. Yep. Hope I have given the answers to that. Okay, there is one more problem which you can be able to face it, which is the limit. Most of the time what happens is when you send a request, I told you, right, the request has the size. So the size is the problem sometime. There is default size is 3 to something something. If you want to increase it, the API side, you have to increase it, because API can be able to, I mean, those manipulations happens from the API side. So these all things comes when you are creating your custom API. So far, I don't think so anybody is creating the custom API over here. So I will not go in that particular part, but there are some things which you have to take care inside the API. There is one thing called chorus, cross origin. So that is the specification which is being stopped by a lot of applications. Let's say for an example, http.com, right? Okay, google.com want to access facebook.com. Both are different origins. Origins, it means it is facebook.com, it is google.com. Both are different domains, different entities. When my facebook.com wants to access google.com, unless and until that facebook.com is not whitelist inside google.com. Okay, let me just give you the example over here. Hopefully that will be clear. Okay, this is Facebook. Just imagine this is Facebook and this is Google. Now Facebook wants to access Google. So what it will do? It will just send one request over here. Facebook wants data. It means Facebook asking data to Google. Okay, so it means Google has to share the data. So what method I will use? Facebook will use get method over here, because Facebook wants the data. Okay, so right now when I will say facebook.com, so there will be one endpoint. Let's say they have something like this: https api.google.com api.google.com/get data, something like that. They have it. My Facebook is being hosted inside facebook.com, and I'm asking for this http api.com, https://api.google.com get data. But this api.google.com is totally different domain. So this is not allowed. Your browser always stops that one. So we call it chorus. So you have to enable that one. So who has to enable that one? That Google has to enable, because Facebook is using Google API. This API is from Google. So this API has to be so modest that it will accept all the domains. It should accept all the domains. By default, they should not. They do not do it. So you have to enable it. So whenever you create the custom applications, you can learn about this chorus thing. When I was developing that time, I learned about it. So you can also learn about that one. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Deepak,
Yep.
Hello, sir.
a question is, what are the basic, I just said, components of an API? Like when we request the get URL, what are the basic components of a URL?
Okay.
Like
See,
URL
that
and
is,
parameters.
yeah, that's what I told you at the first, right? When I was using Deer, that time I was giving this. So these all things you cannot tell this and anybody. So by default, if I say this is the most important part of the API, your URL or your endpoint, we call it endpoint. Okay. After this, whatever you want to use it, or you have to go via documentation for that one, what endpoint they are using. So first thing, what you have to use is, or what you should come to your mind is, whenever you are using API, is what endpoint I have to access. The second point which should come to your mind is whether you are accessing the data. It means you want to get the data or you want to save the data. If you want to get the data, then you will say, okay, I have to use get method. If you want to save the data, then I will use post method. Now, there are also different things on that one. Could be the possibilities that I'm using this endpoint for get, or I'm using different point for endpoint for post. So these are the only two important things according to me if you are using any open API. So important things is what kind of method you want to use it, what is the endpoint, and authentication part, which I will cover up later on. Okay. I hope I have given the answer of it, Kamal. Any thing which I have missed?
No, good for
Sure,
this
sir.
part.
Oh, I think
Actually,
Jaspal was asking or Kamal was asking the question.
hello, sir. Can we take one more question?
Yeah, sure, no issues. But who asked the
Okay, sir.
question first?
Sir, Kamal.
Oh, you only asked the question. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay,
No
don't mind.
issues.
Actually, I have one more. What kind of security concern happened while we working on API?
Okay, security concerns. How to tell you? I think I will jump to 2-3 steps more, but okay, let me just give you. I'm not using anything over here. I'm using this. Okay, that's a totally different thing. Okay, I'll give you this. Hopefully I'm using authorization over here. Okay, yeah. You can see this. This
Yes,
is
sir.
the token, right? So this token, if you are using this token, will always be inside your browser. This token. Hopefully I can open any. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me just connect. Hopefully I can be able to open the site. I'll show it to you. No. Come on. Okay. Right. Yep. Okay, so this is one of the application inside my company. I'm just giving you the example of it. How you can be able to explore or exploit this particular information. Okay. Now I'm going to the local storage over here. You can see This whole information is here. This is your browser and all the information is here. If anybody hacks onto your system, and you can be able to access all this information. You can see home account ID, everything is there. This is the secret, which is the most important thing. You can see this access token. I can get this whole access token from here.
Exactly. ठीक है sir.
Yep. I can take it from here. I can debug it over here, or this is the token which I will send to the API, because this is the access token, right? There are two types of tokens, which is called access token and IT token. You can see this is token type bearer. If I show you my Postman over here, you can see this is the authorization which I send. So bearer is the normal type, you can say, what kind of authorization type you're using. So I'm using bearer over here, and along with that, I'm giving that access token. So if I know the endpoint where I have to give this particular secret or this particular access token, I can connect via here. I'll just give the endpoint over here, bearer token, I will just give it over here, and then I can be able to access the same information which I will have it. So if anybody hacks to your system, if he or she has the access to your browser information, we can do anything. Okay, so this is the biggest security concern which anybody has right now. Apart from that, anything you can be able to do that. Okay, so this is one of the examples which I have given to you right now. Hope that's clear.
Okay, thank you sir.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions? I think Jaspal was
Deepak,
asking any question. Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
In
please
the
go ahead.
Open API document, you
Yeah.
have mentioned Open SOAP and REST and RSS.
Yes.
So my question is, what is SOAP and REST APIs?
Okay.
And why
so
are they used?
Okay, so as I told you that previously we were using, okay, it's a simple, you can say, evolution, right? Everybody knows Darwin's theory, right? We were monkeys, then we came and then we became men. Okay, so it's kind of evolution which happens in any process or any application you can talk about, right? So if you are right now, let's say for an example, you are building an application, that's a simple application. After some time you will try it out, you will try to improve that application, you will put some more information in there, you will put some more things, or you can say more functionalities into that application. So that is called evolution. So the same thing happened with APIs as well. When we talk about the SOAP is called Simple Object Access Protocol. So that's a protocol which we use. Okay, so SOAP, it means whenever you are sending the information from, when we used to use XML, right, to transfer the information from one application to another, that time we used to have the SOAP information, or you can say SOAP protocol. So this is nothing. This is just sending the information from one application to another application, but there will be one protocol which we will use. Right now, I have shown you this. This is the thing, right? Get, post, put, everything. So this is what, this is methods. So this HTTPS is a protocol. Protocol, it means what kind of rules and regulations it should follow. So this is the application, or this is the API which is following HTTPS protocol. So SOAP is one of the protocol when we used to send information from one application to another application in XML, and we used to use web services. Okay, that time we did not have REST, we did not have APIs, we had web services. So web services used to use this SOAP protocol. So it's nothing, it's just a, a rules and regulations, how we will send or how the applications will connect to each other. Right now, I'm connecting to you via Teams, and there is no communication, or I do not know you, you do not know me. So how we are connecting? We are connecting via Tarsem. So Tarsem is the protocol. You can think like that, because Tarsim knows what kind of, if Tarsim will tell me how I will connect to you, how will I will talk to you. So Tarsim will be the connector. Every time whenever I will try to contact you, I will contact via Tarsim only. Okay, so SOAP is Tarsim. Not literal means, but yeah, you can you can think about that. Okay, so when we evolve from that, particular scenario when we did not want to use web services because web services was very heavy. And when we were sending the information, and this was this protocol which you have to learn because nobody else was using it. When that HTTP, I mean that web boom came into the market in 2000, when everybody was going for the web applications, and slowly we evolved, and then we used HTTPS protocol for each and every web applications. Then some of the guys who created the API, they thought why we are using a different protocol for both applications, because both are the applications. My API is also application, my service or my normal application is also the application. Both are applications. So why we are using a different protocol for that? Why can't we use the same protocol which we are using for our application? We should use the same protocol for our APIs also. Okay, so that time we evolved from SOAP to REST. So REST is nothing, it's a representational state transfer, they call it representational state transfer. It means whenever you are sending the information from APIs are REST APIs, and there are two types of APIs basically. One is RESTless and one is RESTful. So REST is nothing, there are certain steps, certain guidelines. There are 4 or 5 guidelines that you have to use HTTPS protocol. You should follow get, put, post, all these methods. You should adhere all these methods. There are some certain more steps on that one. If your API follows all those steps, your API is RESTful API. If it does not follow all those steps, it means your application is not REST application, not REST API. It's just a RESTless API. Okay, so REST is nothing. It's a representational state transfer. It means whenever we use HTTPS, that is called REST. Whenever we use XML or SOAP protocol, that is a web service. Understood? And RSS is nothing, it's just a feed. So instead of REST, when you do not have the APIs, you can use RSS also, RSS feeds. So there is a different mode of getting the information from the other applications. There are a lot of RSS feeds for Microsoft. There are a lot of RSS feeds for Google. There are a lot of RSS feeds for Twitter as well. So if you do not want to use REST APIs, which has been opened by Twitter, you can use their RSS feeds also. They have a simple scenario how you can use it. Okay. Any
Yes,
other
understood.
question?
Thank you.
Okay, that's a good thing. Any other questions, please? Okay, let's go ahead. Okay. Good question. What we are talking about? We are talking about the get, put, post and everything. Everybody, hope it's been clear to everybody. Okay. So this is the main thing inside the APIs. Yep, inside the API. Thank you so much. Inside the API, whenever you want to call the API, these are the most important things which you have to go through. The second point is endpoint, how it will work, and then you have to go via the documentation. That is the 3 steps every time you should follow whenever any work comes to you that, okay, they say we want to use APIs from Google. So nobody knows, okay, in world, I am also not that much intelligent that I know every API, but there must be some documentation for that one. I know, and I know how to follow that particular documentation and what should I looking for. If I say my application will take the data, let's say for an example, anybody comes to me and they say I have a Twitter account. I want to show all those Twitter, whatever tweets I'm doing, I want to show inside an application. So it means he is doing tweets inside Twitter application. I want to get all those tweets. So it means that is the get information. My application needs all those tweets. So it means I will go for the get method. And after that, I know there must be an endpoint for that one. So what I will do is I will just Google it, Twitter API. Then they will give me the scenario, or they will give me one URL where I have to register. Then there will be a documentation how I can get the tweets, and then there will be the endpoint. They must have mentioned the endpoint over there. You can use the same endpoint. Okay, so this is the first initial steps which you have to follow. Now the second thing comes up over there is the authorization part. It means anything which is open, they do not open it publicly. It means they will not give you okay, as an example, I can give you over here is Okay, let's say for an example, this is the custom API, or you can say this is the test API, which is being created by this JSON placeholder. Those guys, they have just created this to do API. So in case if you are running the application, you do not want to access your actual API and you want to show some test API. Let's say for an example, I'm creating any application and I do not have the API, but still I want to create the application. I want to show something as an example. So I can use this one. So this does not have any kind of authentication. If I'll go to my post, then I'll just put it over here and I'll say send. It will give me all the information over here. I do not have any authorization. So this is open API, this is public API, and I do not have any kind of authorization. So anybody who will know this particular endpoint, they can access my data. So it means this is not secure. Okay. So to secure this particular endpoint, we use this authorization. So this is the headers. Every time it goes in the headers, there are certain things inside the headers which will go. Okay, let me. I opened one application for you guys, right? Let me just show that one again. Okay, so I will go to the network tab over here. I will just refresh it again. Hopefully it will show me some information over here. Yes, yes. Okay, so this is just an example over here. I'm just giving it to you. So this is called do status, DSSO status, DSSO status something. So this is the endpoint. You can see my hover line over here, https://login.microsoft.online.com/common/instrumentation/DSO status. So this is one request and this is my endpoint. Now this is the request URL. You can say endpoint, you can say anything can say. So this is the request method. You can see I told you there will be 4 methods: get, put, post, delete. So this is the request method called post. And this is the status. So status, it means when your application is giving you the information, whether it is being success or not, how will you come to know? So they have created these status codes, which we call HTTP status codes. Those HTTP status codes has a different categorization on that one. There is that starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes till 6. So this is 200. So it means it is category 2. 201, 200, 202. These are the specific status codes. You can go to Wikipedia and you can find about all these status codes. Every status code has a certain meaning about it. You must have seen 403 sometime. 403 forbidden error or 404 not found. Most of the time you must have encountered this error tag called 404. So 404 is nothing, it's a category 4 error. So it means anytime, whenever any error comes in application error, so they all categorize in category 4. 403, 404, 405, 406, 407. These are only status codes over there. 404, when you say this is not found, specifically they mention whenever 404 will come, it means the page not found. 403 is forbidden error. It means forbidden means unauthorized. If you are unauthorized in the application, they will give you 403 error on that one. 403 error, it means anytime if you say status code 403, you will come to know that, okay, you are forbidden. It means you are not authorized. If you say 405 or 406 or 407, these are proxy errors. So you can be able to understand that, okay, there must be some proxy errors are coming out. So these are categorization of all these status codes so that you will come to know. There is 302, 301, 304, 302 and 301 is always for the redirection. If I'm coming from abc.com to abc1.com. It means the redirection is happening. I'm moving from abc to abc1. So every time the first request will go 302. Okay, so these are the status codes. I do not want to give you, much about it. So because it is just a different knowledge, you can just go to Wikipedia about it and you can be able to figure it out. Okay. I do not want to talk about the response here right now. So whenever you talk about the application, right, there will be a one client and there will be one server. So client and server, it means two applications. You are sending the request, against that you are sending the response. So that again, I'll just go to my Paint. So this is my Facebook, this is my Google. My Facebook is requesting something. So this is a request. My Google is giving something from here to here. So it means that is the response. So you can see over here my request and response. So when I talk about the request, how my Google API, I'm giving you the example of Facebook and Google. So how my Google will come to know what information I should give, what kind of things they are asking. So all these things will go from here. You can see accept. Accept is the thing is application/JSON. Now I told you about there are two technologies which we can use. One is XML, one is JSON. So could be the possibilities that my API can send XML as well. So what Facebook wants? Facebook wants the information in XML format or in JSON format. That I will mention it over here inside the accept. So it is saying application/JSON. It means application. It means my Facebook is asking about the information in JSON format. So that is the reason why I have given it over here. Encoding, accept language. These are the default headers which you send. You do not have to send all these informations. The only information which you should know, you can go too deep inside this. You can ask about or you can search about all these request headers. What are these? But most important is this accept, content type. And I told you about the content length, right? So this is the content length. So if it is maximum, right? If it is in 32,000 or 300,000 something, it will be very heavy data. So sometime APIs block that. Content type, it means application/JSON. It means what kind of data I am sending. My Facebook is sending some information to Google to get the information. My name is Deepak, so I want to get the information of Deepak from Google. So I'll send my name, my employee ID, something I will send it from Facebook to Google so that Google will figure it out with Deepak and then it will send the information. So when I'm sending the information about Deepak from Facebook to Google, what kind of technology or in what format that is? So that is called content type. So content type says application/JSON. So it means I'm sending the information in JSON and I'm expecting the data which you will send, which Google will send as a response, that should also be inside this application JSON. So accept, content type, and one more thing which is not here, but these are method. This is the method, right? Request method. This is the most important thing. Request method, accept, content type. Accept also, it does not matter because most of the times if you will not give accept, they will assume, my API will assume that you are using JSON because JSON is the newest type and everybody using it. If you want to have a XML format, then specifically you have to mention it. If you do not mention it, that is the default one, is the application/JSON. So there are two things, request method and content type. So these are all the headers. So every API works on these headers. You can see over here. Accept, user agent, host, token. I'm using Postman, so they have their own things also over here, but otherwise you can see this accept, what kind of encoding they accept, connection should be alive or not alive. You can just go over here as well. Okay. So we were talking about the headers. Now there is one more header called authorization, which used by authorization for API. So anytime any API which is an API, they will always use this authorization. You cannot say can I use authentication over here? No, you cannot use, because these are the common headers which is being created, and these are the headers which is related to that protocol which is called HTTPS. My API runs on HTTPS protocol, right? So HTTPS protocol has all these common headers. So you cannot change it to the authentication. It always be authorized. authorization. Now it depends how I am taking this authorization. I am taking bearer, then space, then some code over here. So this is which is in hand of my API. I can change this bearer to something else. Okay, my application says it should be API. I can put it API. Okay, so this information you will get it from your documentation. Whenever you will have the APIs, public APIs, this information they will give you inside the authentication model, how they are authenticating it. Okay, so this header is most important thing part, this authorization, and then how you are using. Most of the time, all public APIs, they go with bearer, but I'm not saying it, it is should be. Like I told you that this is has to have the authorization inside this. If your application is secure, then you have to give the authentication or authorization for that API. You have to do via authorization header only. But the value of this authorization header, it is handled by your API, how your API is handling. If they are saying the token type is bearer and you should write bearer and then space, then definitely you can use it. Most of the time, most applications, they use bearer itself, but this token code, they change it each and every time. They change it. Okay, it could be the possibilities they have fixed code, or it could be the possibilities that it is certain, I mean, base could be the possibilities, right? I mean, it can be rotational basis. Let's say, for an example, I just connected to this application. Okay, right. Okay, I connected to this application. I showed you one thing over here called access token, right? Okay, is this an access token? Yeah, this is my access token. Let me just copy this access token, and then I go to this. This is a JWT token, okay? JSON token, JSON web tokens we call it. So most of the time applications work on that. I think I have just copied half of it. Should be the whole thing over here, and then you can see. So this is the JSON web token. So JSON web token, what is that? It's just a token, or you can say you have created one object and you are encrypting it. You are encrypting. So how you encrypt it? Using the encryption method. So you can see what encryption method I have used it, RS-256. Every JWT will have three parts of it. One is header, one is payload, and one is signature. Every time you will have this JWT token will have these three parts. If your JWT token does not have these three parts, it means that is not a valid JWT token. Let's say I just change it to something else. So you can see this header is blank over here. So if I copy and go to jwt.io, hope it will give me the error that this is not a valid one. Yeah, okay, it's not giving me. I think it will give me the signature because the type, the nonce algorithm, which algorithm I'm using, this is some information. If you ask me that how I'm decrypting this JWT token, you cannot decrypt JWT token itself. There is no decryption. Okay, so what it does is it takes these X5T, KID, these nonce, everything they take it, they go to, because this is coming from Microsoft, right? I was giving login.microsoftonline.com. I gave some information, right? So they know that they have to go to login.microsoft.com. They have a specific place where they change the token each and every day. This signature, which is coming from there, this signature will be changed each and every day over there. Okay. So that is something different. The most important part of every JWT is your this, which is called payload. Payload will contain the data, or you can say the information about the user. I am accessing, I am authenticating the user with this user, which when I have given that user, my user is authenticated. How my application will know, or my application is showing this pathlab.com, my email over here, how it is showing. It is showing using my this. You can see my UPN is there, a-deepak@pathlab.com. So all these information, you need it to show it, right? I want to show my name instead of my email ID over here. I want to show my name. So what I will do is my application will decrypt this JSON JWT token and it can take my name over here. Okay. Here you can see this. Okay, audience is there, IAT. Okay, this is EXP. You can see this EXP. This EXP is nothing, it's expiration time. This is the expiration time. You can say Saturday, August 14, 2021, 2104. It means it will 2104, 24. I think this is the expiration time when it will be expired. You can say yes, because right now is 28. My current time is 8/8. So it will expire. This particular token you cannot use for authentication next time after 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:04. You cannot be able to use this particular token after that authentication. So this is the rotational process which we do for the security purpose. Okay. Any questions till now? Okay, that's a good thing. So, I mean, this is the thing which is most important part over here. Now, I just would like to go back to my APIs. Integration methods. There are a lot of integration methods, WSFET, SAML 2.0, OAuth 2.0, OpenID Connect. Most of the open APIs work on this OpenID Connect or OAuth 2.02. SAML 2.0, nobody uses it right now. This is for B2B, business to business. WSFET is just a traditional method of authorizing the applications. Okay. So you can see this is Azure Active Directory I'm talking about. So Active Directory is nothing, it's a storage where you store all the information about your users. Okay. Any company will have the employees, right? So they want to store the employees information somewhere. So they store in Active Directory. Active Directory is the part of Microsoft. Microsoft have created the Active Directory. So they call it Active Directory and then they store the information over there. Okay. It could be anything. It's not mandatory that you have to use Azure Active Directory or Active Directory itself. There are a lot of identity providers inside in the market right now. Okta is there. Google is also kind of a identity provider for you. Facebook can also can be an identity provider for you. You must have seen a lot of applications which give you the information about. Let's say they say login as Google or login from Facebook, login from LinkedIn, login from anything, whatever information or whatever things you can see over there, those are your identity providers. They are providing your identity to that application. So these are the identity providers. So something like that, Azure Active Directory or Active Directory is also one of the identity providers, which is specifically designed for the companies. Okay. So that is the thing. I wanted to explain OpenID Connect and OAuth in detail because after that only you can be able to access the information or you will have a better knowledge about it. I'll just give you the example of it if you don't mind. Okay, so currently I'm working with Azure Active Directory in my company. For an example, if you ask me, I'll just give you the example of it. Let's say for an example, I have given this. Okay, this is my application URL, my application. So when I click on this one, you can see my application comes, but suddenly it moves to login.microsoftonline.com. So why it's going over here? It is going for my authentication because I'm not authorized. Nobody else can be able to use this particular application. Only Petronas employees can use that one. So how that application will come to know whether the app user whomsoever is accessing there is the valid Petronas user or not. So what we have done is we have created this page. Okay, this is called Azure AD, Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. they have this page. So Azure has given this particular one. Now I will give my ID over here. This is my test domain. So I do not have petronas.com. I have pathlab.com. I'll just give my username, my password. So once I will give my username and password, what this Azure will do is this will go to my companies, my Petronas Active Directory, and it will check whether my email and password is correct or not. If my email and password is correct, it will generate one access token, that JWT token, which I have shown to you. So that is the token which has all the information about it, and that information came from my AD, my Active Directory. So what this particular application has done is, when I went to this application is not open for everybody. It is open for only for Petronas employees. So it went for the authentication, that whether the user is authenticated or not. So for authentication purpose, they have enabled that it should come from the single sign-on, or it should come from the Azure AD. Let's say it was open for everybody. For an example, I'm just opening Instagram over here for an example. Now you can see login with Facebook. It is there. So if could be the possibility is one more example I can show you, which will give you the proper. This. Oh. Okay, so you can see this is one of the applications which also using my team or my company Petronas. So this is the third party. Okay, so they have their own username password also. If you have own username password, you can just come over here and you can put it. If you do not want have the username password, you can go to this login with SSO. If I click on it, so it is sending me to my Petronas account for the assessment. Just the same thing which is inside the Instagram. You can see inside Instagram is also happening something like this. If you have your username password, you can put it, or you can log in with the Facebook. If you're a new user, you can just sign up also. You can just log in with Facebook as well. When I click on this login with Facebook, so you can see it is redirecting me to the login Facebook login page. Just like my application is redirecting me to my company's page. Okay, so I can give my username and password for Facebook, and once I will log in, my Facebook will authenticate my authentication, right? My credibility will be authenticated inside Facebook, whether my username and password is correct. If my username and password is correct, then this particular Facebook will send certain information to this Instagram, and Instagram will save the same certain information inside their servers. And then next time I will open via this particular Facebook login only. I need not to have my own login inside that. So this integration method, which I would like to explain it over here, is how it goes. It means how it authenticates and how it gives you the access token. That access token is validating, how it's validating and everything. So that depends on these protocols, OpenID protocols, OAuth protocols, and SAML. So basically these protocols is totally on this. What I have shown you over here is your application is there. You do not want to have the same username password for each and everybody. You want to use your employees information. Let's say ScaleUp LE has one application where you give your information, okay, where employees goes. So that application does not have their own username password, you can use your Scaleup Ally username password, which you use for your account, for your Outlook, for your email. You can use the same email, same username. You can log into that particular application. That is the same thing which is happening over here. Okay. So this particular integration methods work on that one. Hopefully, I have given the simple definition about them, how it works. This is the OAuth 2.0. So this is the simple scenario I can tell you. There are certain terms, or you can say we use it when we talk about the authentication process. This is the client. Client will send the request to the resource owner. Resource will send the authorization grant to the client. Client will send the authorization grant to authorization server. Authorization will send the access token. Then you are sending the access token to the resource server, and then it is coming to the protected server. Example. So these are all the terminologies which we use inside the OAuth 2.0: resource owner, client, authorization server, resource server, authorization grant, access token, scope, consent, everything. Example here. This is the example. You can say connect with Google. So connect with Google, when we go to the authorization server. So this is the accounts.google.com. This is the authorization server, okay, where I have the information, just like my AD. In terms of my companies, AD is my authorization server. So request goes to the authorization server with certain information. Then that certain information goes to the resource owner, correct? Authorization server, token server, basically. So sometime what happens is the same token goes to, when my authorization server will authenticate it successfully, it will give me the grant over here. Then the grant will come back to this authorization server. They will generate the access token. When they generate the access token, there is a consent call, because you can, right now what happens is your Google has a lot of information, your Facebook has a lot of information, your Facebook has your information, your images are there, your posts are there, everything is there. So what kind of information you want to give? Like for Google, I just want to give my personal information. I do not want to give my drive information or my anything else. So they will mention it inside this particular consent form. It will show to the user. Then the user can say, yes, I'm giving the consent. Then the consent will go to the resource server. Resource server, it means, let's say for an example, Google has their context. So it will go to this context.google.com resource server using that access token. Okay. So this is the whole scenario. Hope if I'll have more time in near future, I will just discuss, or I will just explain these things in more detail. I'll just create the same scenario custom, and I'll show it to you how you can use it. That will explain it more. Okay. So
Okay,
I'll
sir.
just share this deck with you guys. You can just go through with it. If you have any questions, just let me know. Any questions till now? Okay, that's perfect. If no questions, we are good to go. I'll just share this particular deck with Tarsim, so Tarsim can send all the information to you guys. Yeah, hopefully I have given all the information over here about me, Twitter, GitHub. You can just go to GitHub of mine. If you go to GitHub, you can just see a lot of APIs I have created. There are a lot of, you can see Angular SSO with Azure AD, legacy authentication. I have a lot of things over here. You can just go through with it. You can search it out. You will come to know. Okay. One thing is this. Second thing is I can put my email also, so that if you have anything, you can just okay. So no questions. Oh, that's good. I think I'm very good teacher, right? Everybody understood everything. No questions. Okay, that's a good thing. Tarsim, are you there?
Yes, Deepak, I'm here.
Yep, hi. So I have explained each and everything, the basics about the APIs to each and everybody. Everybody is so smart and they understood each and everything. So they do not have any questions. So I cannot, I cannot explain anything more about that. There are two parts, one the authorization, authentication, and then API part. I have just cleared all the API part. Authorization part, I have cleared in terms of API accessment. But if you want to go deep dive inside that one, I can have one more session with you guys if you want. Okay, it's totally depends on you because my knowledge is free, of course. I do not charge anything for that one. Okay, so you can talk or you can ask me anything anytime. No issues on that one. We can have a special session for that one if anybody wants it. If nobody wants it, that's perfectly fine. Also, no problem. Okay.
Sure, Deepak.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So that is it from my side.
Great. Guys, are you there? Everyone is here?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Just this because
So,
this is too new for us. We
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
there is
That
some
is
repository where we can learn more about this. So,
okay.
Deepak,
So
can you suggest?
yes, if you want to learn about it or if you want to go through with it, Google is the best part. And just to give you the heads up about it, you can go to the Microsoft authentication. Okay, they will teach you each and everything about it, but nobody will tell you about the APIs there. Okay, APIs, it means how you can access. This is more about the authentication part, right? The part which I have told you over here. This how this terminology works because this particular integration patterns, how it does work. It is about this. So you can go over here. I can share one YouTube video to you guys.
Is that your YouTube
Deepak,
channel?
No, that's not my YouTube URL. That is there is one video about this whole authentication process that's very brief about it, and that is very good from the Okta guys. So I'll just share with you. I'll share with Tarsim. Tarsim will share with you guys later on that. Okay. So that is the only place from where I have learned. So you can also learn from there. Yep, that's the only
ठीक
thing.
है.
Yep.
किसी को भी कोई क्वेश्चन है तो दिस इज द राइट टाइम टू आस्क. दीपक है यहाँ पे, आपको आंसर कर सकता है.
और
कीर्ति,
ऐसा
आदित्य.
और ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि आप लोगों को अंग्रेजी में पूछने का है. हिंदी हमारी मातृभाषा है तो आप लोग उसमें भी पूछ सकते हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. ठीक है ना?
Hello, sir.
हाँ जी सर, बताइए सर.
Sir, I want to ask that, sir, using Firebase is safe. Can it store unlimited data?
फायरबेस यार, जहाँ तक मैंने यूटिलाइज किया है, फायरबेस का पेड वर्जन भी है और फ्री वर्जन भी है. फ्री वर्जन इज रिस्ट्रिक्टेड बट पेड वर्जन इज फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट एंड यू कैन स्टोर. Under my knowledge, when I was using it, they said it is fully. I mean, you can use full Firebase anytime. You can store any information inside that one. Because जब हम लोग अपनी एप्लीकेशन बना रहे थे तो हमने Firebase नहीं लिया था, हमने पूरा Google Analytics लिया था, उनका जो पूरा पैकेज था. सो उस Google Analytics में उन्होंने हमें Firebase भी दिया था. सो उस Firebase को उन्होंने अनलिमिटेड ही बोला था हम लोगों को तो. बट last time when I have heard about it, I think 500 GB or something like that, they have restriction or no, I don't know about that one. Not so sure about it, but you can go to the Google documentation for that one. They will let you know about it. I had Google with me over here. Yeah, this is the one. You can see Google Analytics and Analytics 360. Google Analytics is free of cost. And Analytics 360 is the paid version, which gives you each and every information. And this is the paid version of it. ये last time मैंने 2 साल पहले किया था. तो अभी
Sir,
change हो गया हो शायद से.
सर फायरबेस यूज करना सेफ है?
Yes, perfectly. If you are using paid version, definitely. Google का है भाई, तो it's a safe. You can say it's a safe. Yeah, it's a database for you guys, right? It's a safe thing. बहुत सारी एप्लीकेशंस अभी मार्केट में है जो फायरबेस ही यूटिलाइज करती हैं. इट्स अ वेरी, आई मीन, कंपेयर टू एवरीथिंग, इट्स अ सेफ. सी, सेफ्टी का मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो एप्लीकेशन तुम्हें सेफ्टी प्रोवाइड कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है. एक्स्ट्रा चीज तुम क्या कर रहे हो, ठीक है ना. मैंने अभी तुम्हें एग्जांपल के तौर पे दिखाया कि मेरी जो कंपनी है वो आपको ये सिंगल साइन ऑन, हम इसको बोलते हैं सिंगल साइन ऑन. ओके, जब मैं एप्लीकेशन पे जा रहा था तो क्या एप्लीकेशन थी वो? जो भी एप्लीकेशन पे मैं अभी तक गया था ना, तो वो एप्लीकेशन पे क्या था कि वहां पर भी वो डेटा हमको आ रहा था. मतलब मैंने तुम्हें दिखाया कि वो ब्राउजर के अंदर इंफॉर्मेशन फीड हो रही थी, करेक्ट. सो ये भी सिक्योर नहीं है. मेरी एप्लीकेशंस जो हमारी कंपनी के अंदर बनी हुई है ना, वो भी सिक्योर नहीं है अभी. ये जब यहाँ मूव होता है, यहाँ मूव होके मैंने जब अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन दिया यहाँ पे, और इंफॉर्मेशन देने के बाद जब ये नेक्स्ट टाइम पे जाता है तो ब्राउजर के अंदर में अभी भी देख सकता है. बट क्या है कि ये एटलीस्ट कुछ तो सिक्योर है, क्योंकि ये गूगल से, एज्योर से आ रहा है. ये हमारे माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने जो हमारा पूरा क्लाउड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना रखा है, उस क्लाउड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे ये एप्लीकेशन या ये यूआरएल हिट कर रहा है. तो वी कैन से इट्स सिक्योर. बट कुड बी द पॉसिबिलिटीज कि मेरा ही कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो, मेरा कंप्यूटर कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो, somebody hacked my system and then they have taken all the information from here. Could be the possibilities, right? So सिक्योरिटी मीन्स कि जब तुम उसके अंदर डेटा रखते हो तो वो डेटा कितना सिक्योरली तुम उसको एक्सेस कर सकते हो, और उसको एक्सेस करने में कितनी तुम्हारे प्रोसेस लगती हैं. अभी मेरे को डेटा एक्सेस करने के लिए यहाँ पर मेरे को टोकन मिलेगा. वो टोकन हर 1 घंटे के बाद आपका एक्सपायर होगा. जब मेरे को टोकन को नया जनरेट करना है, क्योंकि 1 घंटे बाद अगर मेरी दोबारा से रिक्वेस्ट जाती है, क्योंकि ऐसा तो है नहीं कि मैं यूजर को रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर सकता हूँ कि हर 1 घंटे बाद तुम अपना यूजर नेम पासवर्ड डालो और वो यूजर नेम पासवर्ड हर 1 घंटे बाद डालेगा. दैट इज नॉट गुड, राइट. क्योंकि हम यूजर इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है, यूजर का जो परफॉर्मेंस है, और यूजर दैट इज सम टर्म कॉल्ड user interaction. Okay, user interaction is impacted on that one. Okay, so हम क्या करते हैं कि 1 घंटे बाद जब वो एक्सेस टोकन आपका एक्सपायर हो जाएगा, तो हम क्या करेंगे कि वहां पर एक रिफ्रेश टोकन भी हम लोग देते हैं. तो वो रिफ्रेश टोकन ऑटोमेटिकली जाके दूसरा टोकन जनरेट करेगा विच विल बी एप्लीकेबल और विच विल बी एक्टिव फॉर नेक्स्ट 1 आवर. ओके, अगेन एवरी 1 आवर में ये प्रोसेस एक बार चलेगी, बट it is, you cannot see it, user cannot see it, it will happen behind. मान लेते हैं कि अभी मैंने ये एक्सेस कर लिया ना, मैंने ये एप्लीकेशन एक्सेस कर ली, अभी मैं ऐसे ही इसको छोड़ के चला गया. 1 घंटे बाद मैं आता हूँ, मान लेता हूँ कि मैं दोबारा से अपने होम पे क्लिक करता हूँ. तो 1 घंटे बाद जब मैं होम पे क्लिक करूंगा ना, तो हो सकता है कि वो एपीआई पे जाएगा और वो मेरा जो एक्सेस टोकन था वो आपका डिसेबल हो गया, वो आपका मतलब एक्टिव नहीं रहा, अभी वो एक्सपायर हो चुका है. तो वो क्या करेगा, जब मैं होम पे क्लिक करूंगा तो ऑटोमेटिकली मेरी एप्लीकेशन उसको हैंडल करेगी. मेरा रिफ्रेश टोकन जाएगा, नया एक्सेस टोकन जनरेट होगा, नए एक्सेस टोकन लेके वो मेरी एपीआई पे जाएगा, एपीआई से डेटा लेके आएगा और उसके बाद आपको शो करेगा. सो ये बिहाइंड द प्रोसेस चलेगा पूरा. सो दैट इज द सिक्योरिटी विच इज गिवन बाय द एज्योर फॉर यू. ओके, सो एप्लीकेशन कभी सिक्योर नहीं होता. वो वे कितना आपका, आप कितने स्टेप बाय स्टेप और क्या क्या चीजें आप कर रहे हो टू गेट दैट पर्टिकुलर डेटा. सो दैट इज द थिंग. ओके,
देन सर फायरबेस, मतलब ज्यादातर कंपनियां फायरबेस यूज क्यों नहीं करती, मतलब एपीआईज को अलग से मैनेज करती हैं
सी
खुद से, मतलब.
yeah, that depends, correct, that depends totally how you want to do it. अभी मैं आपको बोलूं कि मेरे पास मैं अभी यहाँ पर एज्योर यूज कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है ना. मेरे को चाहिए कि मैं खुद ही सब चीज कस्टम करूँ. कस्टम इट मीन्स हर चीज मेरे हाथ में होनी चाहिए, कंट्रोल फुली मेरे हाथ में होगा. कैसे मैं यूजर को एक्सेस करूंगा, कैसे हम उसको टोकन प्रोवाइड करेंगे. टोकन का मैं टाइम 1 घंटे नहीं देना चाहता, मैं उसको आधा घंटा करना चाहता हूँ, मैं उसको 5 मिनट करना चाहता हूँ, क्या करना चाहता हूँ. तो ये सब चीजें भी आपका मैटर करती हैं, ठीक है ना. तो वो कंपनी टू कंपनी वेरी करता है. ओके, कोई कोई लोग, अभी मैंने आपको बताया कि बहुत सारे आइडेंटिटी प्रोवाइडर्स मार्केट में हैं. ओक्टा इज वन ऑफ देम, एज्योर इज वन ऑफ देम, एडब्ल्यूएस इज वन ऑफ देम. सो अगर मैंने अपनी कंपनी को बोला कि नहीं मैं एडब्ल्यूएस यूज करूंगा, तो इट डजंट मीन कि एज्योर इज रॉन्ग, राइट, और एज्योर खराब है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है. इसका मतलब ये है कि मैं AWS को ज़्यादा प्रेफर कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि उसमें कुछ ऐसा एक्स्ट्रा बेनिफिट होगा मेरे पास, ठीक है ना। अभी मैं फायरबेस आपका ये नहीं बता सकता कि उसमें क्या बेनिफिट है, क्या बेनिफिट नहीं है, ठीक है ना। तो वो आपको उसकी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन में जाके पढ़ना पड़ेगा कि फायरबेस के क्या ड्रॉबैक्स हैं आपके, क्या कॉन्स हैं उसके, कि आप लोग मतलब कंपनीज उसको प्रेफर नहीं करती मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, बिग कंपनीज। कुड बी दी पॉसिबिलिटीज कि वो आपको पूरी फुल फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ना दे पा रहा हो। तो अगर मैं APIs को मैनेज करना चाहूँ तो इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग बाय फायरबेस आई वांट टू क्रिएट माय ओन गेटवे, मैं अपने गेटवे से थ्रू जाऊँ। ओके, सो दैट डिपेंड्स हाउ योर company wants or how your application demands about it. And I hope I cleared it out. If not, let's discuss it later on because Firebase पे यार मैंने 1 साल पहले काम किया था, frankly speaking. तो मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया कि here we are learning, right? You are learning from me, I'm learning from you guys. So probably I'll just look into it for Firebase and I can tell you about it later on whenever we'll have time. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question or कोई question?
Rohit, Kapil, Jaspal, Jaspinder, Aditya, koi question? Okay. Okay, great.
Okay.
So guys, what we will do, we'll share you the PDF that जो भी ये दीपक ने बनाया है, and once I'll get the video, I'll share that too. और आप कभी भी कोई confusion हो, कभी भी कोई question हो, you can contact to दीपक. ठीक है ना दीपक?